I'm Scott Allen Miller, and this is my life living in Leon, Nicaragua. On a recent video, someone posted a question that I think is a pretty good one. They asked, given that I give so many recommendations that I don't think that investing in Nicaragua or starting a business here, most importantly, is a good thing for most people or something they need to be very, very conscious about, need to be very aware of how things work, need to really step back and think very carefully before they're doing it, that contrary to this advice that I give other people, what causes me to invest here in Nicaragua, or more appropriately, how do I choose where I am going to invest here in Nicaragua, given that so many of the things that I warn about are very easy to be places that you would invest? And of course, the easy answer is because I'm not good at taking my own advice, and the second easy answer is that I'm not very smart, and I just keep doing stupid things, and that's very possible, but I think I do have a good answer for this. So we're going to talk about why I do and how I choose my investments here in Nicaragua right after the bump. If you're relatively new to the show, you may not have a lot of background in this, so I have a lot of videos where I talk about the dangers, the complexities, the challenges of investing or running a business here in Nicaragua, and it's not for the faint of heart. I do encourage investment here. I want to be clear. I do want to see people investing here heavily. That would be fantastic. What I don't want to have happen, though, is for people to come in, try to invest, and lose everything. My audience is precious to me, and I care about your results. So I want to make sure you're getting good results, and so part of that is promoting good business practices. Part of that is exposing the challenges you may face and learning how to evaluate when you're doing a good job. I've run my own business for 26 years and have plenty of failures to learn from. So I have a lot of value here, both abroad and here in Nicaragua. And I do work all over the world, both physically and have remote offices. So I have a lot of international business experience as well. And much of my career has been in business consulting and in finance. So I have some additional insights that some people don't have. So I do try very hard to make sure that my audience especially is not doing things that's going to put them in a dangerous position. Again, it's not that I don't want you to invest in Nicaragua. I would love for you to invest in Nicaragua. Pour everything into Nicaragua as long as you can afford it and you know what you're doing and you're going in with your eyes wide open. I don't want anyone being scammed. I don't want anyone being deceived. I don't want anyone having false hopes of how that's going to work. So that's why I'm so adamant on one side about protecting people about this. It's so easy to fall into a trap we create ourselves, right? It doesn't require someone externally to pressure us. It's so easy to just, and we have some videos talking about this, right? The tropical paradise trap. As soon as any tourist appears in a tropical paradise, immediately they imagine owning a business there and imagine that somehow no one else has thought of this and that they will instantly make a lot of money for doing nothing, right? And this is just, and everyone has some tiny variation on it. Someone's like, well, I'm going to work hard. Someone else is like, I'm going to whatever, right? But it's this basic thing happens all the time. And it's incredibly dangerous because we forget that everyone else has had the same thought. Everyone else has tried the same thing. Everyone is hoping to do that. That makes it the hardest possible scenario. So we need to really, really step back and understand what we're doing. It is not a freebie that you just show up in a tropical paradise and somehow have things easier than if you were in a easier business climate. So that's the first thing. Now, I do invest here and have been investing here for nearly 10 years. So why am I doing that? What and how do I make that decision, right? How do I get past those limitations that I warn other people about? So that's an excellent question. So why I invest here basically answers how I make the decision as well, right? This can all be wrapped up in one thing. The reason that I invest here, and there's more than just one thing, right? I do want to have a diversified portfolio, right? Some of my holdings are in the United States, especially traditionally. So Nicaragua represents a very important hedge against that part of the market, right? If the United States makes a big change, Nicaragua's not likely to be too tied to that. If Nicaragua has a big change, the U.S. is not very likely to be too tied to that. So it's an important hedging mechanism for people who have the resources to do that. But much more importantly, choosing Nicaragua is a part of this is my country, right? I'm not here because I invest here. I invest here because I'm here. This is a long-term strategy in my life. My family plans to live here and have it be our base for forever. We have no plans of leaving. My children have no plans of leaving. This is our country, right? So it's a little bit like asking an American, well, why do you invest in the United States? Well, I don't know. I didn't think about it. It's the country I live in. It's that's where I invest. Well, that's kind of partially true for us. We want to see the country just generally doing better. So generally investing in our own country is generally a positive thing, right? So there's a natural correlation there. For a lot of expats, you may not have chosen Nicaragua yet as your permanent home. So making a big investment that you may not be able to get out from under, or maybe propping up a country that you love, but may not be the one that you're going to live in forever, and maybe you won't be there to oversee those investments, can be maybe a lesser choice. For us, we're all in. This is our home. So investing here absolutely makes sense in that regard. So that's an important one. And that doesn't mean that if you're here temporarily, maybe you think you're going to be here for 10 or 20 years, but then you plan to move on, that investing here wouldn't be still something you could do. Of course you can, but you need to think of it in different terms. I don't have to think about how I'm going to get out of my investment positions here. If I become locked in due to a lack of liquidity, changes in the market, and I'm simply stuck for decades holding on to a position, and that could be a business position, it could be a real estate position or something like that. It doesn't matter because we weren't going to liquidate and take that out of the country anyway. So we have this additional protection that many people don't. When I talk about real estate investments, one of the things that I warn people about is that you have to assume you're going to be stuck in a non-liquid market that may not come up for a very long time. In decades, likely the market will come up and likely liquidity will come up and you'll be able to unload a house. But under current conditions, having a home here and trying to get a fair price for it, we generally assume you're going to have to wait 20 years to get a decent price. Now, if you're willing to take a bath, you might be able to sell sooner, but you might not. So those are things you have to be aware of. So for those of us who are not going anywhere, being told, okay, you just bought a place, now you have to hold it for 20 years, okay, I wasn't going to consider selling it for 20 years anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But for most of you, you're looking at making money on that transaction. And at some point, you're hoping that it gets higher, you sell it, and you're able to make your money back and actually make a profit that you can realize, right? A realized profit is that terminology, and that is not something we're looking to do. So we don't have that same risk that you might have. I am perfectly happy to pass on to future generations the investments that I have here, and if it gets realized with them or with their children, that's okay. I still want it to be a good investment, but if it takes a generation or two, that's an acceptable return rate. Can you say the same thing? If not, you need to think about that. Now, that's an extreme case, right? We're still talking 20 years is more likely a good one. So if you're 25 or even 30 and you're looking at doing a real estate investment here and saying, well, when I'm 45, 50, maybe 55, I'm going to get a good return. I'm pretty confident in that. I'm willing to take that risk because I'm definitely dedicated to being here for that long, then that's fine, right? Just important things to keep in mind and understand. So I have all of that making things different for me. So not only do I want to help my country, but the thing that is really driving the majority, and it wasn't until we got asked this question that I really sat down and thought about this, but what actually drives essentially every investment opportunity that we've had is two things. I'm used to the European too, is one is we want to help our community. So we primarily invest directly in the community that we live in, not just Nicaragua as a broad community, not just Sutiava as a barrio that we're a part of or a municipality that we're a part of, but directly in our village, things that are very close to where we live because we're trying to physically improve the people we live with and the place where we live. So it's making a positive impact on our lives and the lives of the people around us. So not only are we putting money in and if we're lucky actually making a profit on it, don't assume that that's going to be the case, but that's always a possibility. We've put in a lot of years. We have more chances of being able to be profitable than most people. If we do all that and we put in that effort, even if we don't make any profit ourselves, if we can just break even, we are helping to create jobs, we're helping to elevate property, we're helping to make the community a better place. Every property that we tend to invest in physical properties, and a lot of the things that we've done so far, by each property we put in makes that block a little safer, a little bit more lit at night, more eyeballs on things, more employees. There's just more going on. We're increasing activity, we're increasing revenue, we're lowering unemployment. All those things have positive impacts, even if small, just one at a time, on the community. But it's something that's felt. It is important. And so if we are able to keep doing that, we keep having that impact. So that's a big deal. And the second thing is directly helping people. So while we want to focus on our community generally, and we'd be happy to invest farther abroad, right? Sutiava, the barrio, Leon, the giant area, that's okay, right? That's the part of the country we're in. We'd love to get to other parts of the country at some point as well. well. There's lots of reasons why you might want to go to other places, diversification being important. But the driving factor we've really come to realize, the most important trigger for deciding on an investment has been a combination of course, opportunity, which is always important in business. And that's something, though, that a lot of people miss. And then the second is literally helping someone who needs to be helped via the business opportunity that we have. And most of the major opportunities that have come up since we've been here, we're not really dealing with a situation where there's a business and we're doing a little bit better and they're doing a little bit worse and it's a business deal, and it's almost always here's a real person who actually needs this transaction to help them through a tough time or something has happened. And every one of it going back years, right? We have our very first purchase, right? Our first real investment was brought to us, and it all happened in one day, right? Someone came to us. There's an elderly couple. They need to get money for their land. They really need the money. Their son needs to be taken care of. And we were able to come up with the money to get a piece of property that we did want, but also that it directly helped someone that was in rather desperate need right then. And nearly every property we've dealt with has had some element of that where we are representing an opportunity for someone to protect themselves or to get out of a situation when things have been tough. And so we're making decisions as to what our next investment opportunity is, often based off of, well, we already feel good having done something that directly helped the community in a very tangible way right that minute. And then if we're able to then continue and simply not lose money on it, then we're going to continue to help the community over the long haul as well. So there's this instant validation of the project, and then hopefully the ongoing validation of the project as well. So the long term being, we really want to make the community more vibrant, more successful, more employed, more affluent, but in the short term, helping individual people who need it. For example, someone may have had a business that they tried and it failed, and they're desperate for money. We may be in a position where we're able to assist them, right, when they really need it, and may, as we have, gotten into investments that we would never have chosen to do so. We wouldn't have pursued it if that was something that we were, it wouldn't have come up as a desired investment. But because someone came to us and asked for help, and we were able to, and then we were able to evaluate it and say, okay, we can help them. That's a big positive. But this seems like it would be a decent deal for us. Maybe not the ultimate, but it's an opportunity. The timing's right. We're able to do it. Okay. And so we've allowed that to drive most of our decisions so far. And that is not the best thing to do for maximizing profits, of course. So that carries some risks with it. But it's more important, I think, than the actual investment itself. Of course, we hope that the investments are good ideas. We hope that the businesses turn out to be positive, but that is a really big factor. And we're always looking, right, for opportunities, and just an important part of business. Some people really look at building a business as they have this one dream, and nothing wrong with this, right? Absolutely nothing wrong with this. They have a dream. They want to have a restaurant. They want to have a bar. They want to have a hotel. They want to have a T-shirt factory. They want to have, you name it, right? Something that they're passionate about. And so they want to have it. They want to work there. They want to run it. They want to be very, very involved in that one specific thing. They're really into that thing. And so that's one mentality that you get. And when people are doing that, they're not looking at these broader opportunities. They're looking at, how do I find a situation where I can do this thing that I want to do? And for us, it's a little bit different. I love business. I come from a business consulting background. I've been planning on working in business since I was about 3 years old. I've always had this passion for business. And at 16, I made the decision that my father and I were going to start a business consultancy together, which we kind of didn't, and then we kind of did a bit later. So it ended up happening, but not in the way that we expected. It never does, right? And so business, the actual art of business, has been the core of my career since I was very, very young. And always studied it, and always took it passionately, and always look at things very, very differently, because I'm looking at things as a business. It's like at my core, rather than something that I learned in a class and try to apply and then turn off when I go home. I don't have that. And so for me, it's not, here's this one business that I really want to do. It's, I always want to take advantage of any good opportunity that comes along. And so we're open to the thing that makes sense. And people are always bringing opportunities to us, and we turn down tons of them, right? But sometimes we get just the right thing. We say, you know what, this fits our skill set. This fits our current budget. This fits the ideas that we have. This fits a bigger trend that we're working on. I mean, so that's another thing that is important to us, certainly not as important as the things I mentioned, but we try to have projects that complement each other, right? One bit of business needs to support another. So none of our businesses are wholly isolated, right? So some of you know we own a software business. So the software business makes products that are used by our other business units. Our IT support business helps maintain properties that we own, right? It's just one thing after another work together. And so vertical integration, or in some cases horizontal integration between business units is very important for us as well. And so you can put things together in kind of unique ways. So these are things that we have to consider. But those are the driving factors. There's no magic to it. There isn't some, we identify this really high rate of return, so that's what we're going to go after. That would be very smart if you were a bit more really looking at the returns versus looking at doing things that are specific around keeping our community in good shape and having a long-term community that we want to live in. That's really, really important to us. We're looking to, as much as we can, encourage and shape our local community to be as healthy and vibrant and wonderful as we possibly can. And I talk about this a lot in past videos, that one of the reasons that we kept having a restaurant, even though they lose so much beyond just being fun to have a restaurant, is that is where we like to eat. Most of the time, our restaurant would be the go-to place for us to get food. And if we didn't have it, then it left a gap in the market. And now that one of our restaurants is closed, well, two are at the moment, but one is permanently closed, it's a real loss of place that we used to go eat. It was one of our primary options for obvious reasons. And so we notice the lack of variety and the lack of opportunity to go out to eat because that is gone. Because I talk about how little there is in the Leon market. So those are things we want to fix again. Right, but those are examples, or that's a good example of where, by having that restaurant, if we could make it just not lose money, having that restaurant in our community makes our community a better place and makes us happier being able to live there. So we're trying to solve problems for us and the community as part of that, right? So because it's our community that we partake in, we're able to see those benefits happen. We're able to see if things are actually doing a good job, if they're improving rather than becoming a blight or whatever. So that's kind of how we look at it. That's the thought process. Of course, I do have businesses other places. So this is just one isolated part of what we do in business. So that's a little bit different than a lot of people, right? Everybody has different needs in looking at things, but I hope this answers the question and makes it a little bit more clear why I'm doing something that so often I would tell people, this is not a smart way to invest your money. You're definitely being very reckless and dangerous. You need to be very aware of that and make sure that you're making wise decisions, and yet do it myself. So thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. That helps offset all the bad business decisions that we make and gives us more opportunities to do more things here in Nicaragua. But most importantly, it helps pay for the cameras and software and licensing that we need. It's a lot. So, and you can also join the channel. We got a join button down there. Feel free to join that. It's pretty awesome when you guys do. It's a just very big mental victory for me, emotional victory, that people want to be a part of the channel in that way and help make it possible. And of course, get in those comments and say hello, ask questions in there, get in the show notes, anything you need to contact me, ask questions by video in there. That's fantastic. Give a thumbs up on the show, and I will see all of you tomorrow.